Hello, this is Victor at RestoreYourMercedes.com. This video is for repair shop in Florida, and this is a wiring harness, engine harness that came from 1996 Mercedes SL320. Now this is it's a rare harness, and it's not the usual harness that you find on 95 and 94s. On the 6-cylinder engines, to start off with, there used to be many variations of these harnesses. So the proper harness to install in the car is a must. Now this was rewired completely and double checked on all the pins and all the connections. I have my diagrams. I just checked the last ones that I wanted to make sure that they go to the right locations, and when I do these harnesses, one wire at a time gets replaced. I just don't get it all in pieces and then figure out where wire is supposed to go. So no, this is one at a time. That's why it takes a long time. Now, just to start off, this is the connection for throttle actuator. Okay, so this one is on the engine, and this one is near computers. So these wires, okay, these are already Teflon cables. So that what makes this wiring harness unusual is because there are some wires in here from factory that are already good, but the rest were completely destroyed. So we have our throttle actuator connections. These are all perfect. They will last the life of the car, no problems, and they reach all the way here. They do not connect to anything else in the harness. They just run along in the loom, but they don't connect to any connections. Whatever's laying on the table here, they don't connect to none of that. They go straight from here in the loom, follow around, end up in this connector. That's it. So therefore, this is a good thing. The other thing is also this particular connection. This is our mass airflow sensor, and this also is a Teflon cable connection. The wires inside are Teflon, so they're not the ones that fall apart. And that'll again, the wires from here, you can even see the part number is not 129, it's 140. Okay, so that's an S class. So this is again a combination. Maybe this is one of the last produced 6-cylinder engines for the SL, or actually it's supposed to be, no, not even the last. I don't know what happened here, but these are updated. This is 95, 6th month of 95, because last SL when 6 in line was made in 97. For the 97 model year, at least, it was made in 96. So this is already updated wiring harness, so that's a good news for us. These wires are good, but I still double check where they go. So let's just start off with the beginning of the harness, and we're gonna continue running our video to the end. So obviously this is the main connector, and this is how it comes from the factory. So this is just the way it is. As you can see, all the wires are soldered to pins directly. Okay, so these are all new cables. Those colorful ones, those are good ones. So we have there are more wires there. Main power cords, those are the problematic ones. Actually, these colors, some of them are heat shrink that I put in just to differentiate knock sensors, cam sensor, and crank sensor. So the wires start from here. This is a auxiliary connector. The sticker with the original part number, I just put some clear tape on it just to preserve it, just in case. Who knows? I mean, just let it be for reference. This particular grommet is slidable. You can slide it to whenever you want it to be, because this is the one that goes in the separation point where computers and engine separate. So this is like a grommet that goes there, but again, it moves, so you can slide it whenever you want it to be and insert it. This is our what's called starter connector, starter connection harness. One pin here supposed to go to alternator. This slides in and out depending on the model. Some have them, some don't, but it comes out. As you can see, there is connection number 4, and it's missing because it is the one that is removable. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 is here and 5 there. This wire right here is to actually start the car. This is the starter. It goes into one of very, very thick cables right here with very heavy gauge, very stiff. As you can see, it's just remains. But for the starter, you have to have a heavy gauge cable. This is the starter cable that goes all the way to this connector. Also, on this connector we have 2 pins, and they're for oil pressure and oil level. So this is our oil pressure connection, and this is our oil level connection. Oil level and oil sump. Again, like I said before, this is our starter, and this is the crankshaft sensor. So these I have to actually open up, cut it open, and then plastic weld it. So I molded it back together. There's some marine heat shrink with glue, and then a couple of different sizes to minimize the cable thickness, and then I tape it. And the wire inside is a coaxial. This is the one that is shielded cable. So this is a special cable. So these wires we can put aside so we know what they are and where they go. And so that's out of question here. Now this one right here, this wire is for heating and air conditioner circuit. Okay, these 2 pins, they go directly into our temperature sensor, engine coolant temperature sensor. 2 connections of these, number I believe 2 and 3, they go directly here. So that is to tell HVAC system how hot the engine is, just to make sure that the AC works efficiently. So if you have engine at like 120, AC compressor shuts off. So engine coolant temperature is needed. And also for automatic climate control, it also needs to know if you put it on auto and then your coolant is cold, the climate control fan speed is going to be on minimum. And as engine warms up, the fan is going to start blowing faster and faster because it knows that we have heater core warm, so therefore it can start moving the air. But if you sit in a car with auto setting and the fan blowing at maximum and the air is drawn from the outside or from the inside the car that's like 20 degrees Fahrenheit, it's not pleasant. So therefore HVAC system needs to know when to start blowing that air throughout the cabin based on coolant temperature sensor. Now the second portion of coolant temperature sensor of course goes straight to the main connector for the engine control module to know what's the engine temperature. So obviously spark advance and a cold start and etc. That's obviously needed to know by engine control module. So two pins go to the main connector, 2 pins go to the HVAC. That's just the way they are. Okay, so continue our run on the wiring. Let's just separate it a little bit so they're not all together. Now these are obviously our ignition coils. So it's 6-cylinder engine. We have 3 coils and each coil works 2 cylinders. Again, this sleeve over here moves, so you can position it whenever you want it to be. You know, it slides in and out. And because when you place these wires in the engine, you want to probably alter the sleeve positioning. Now the coils are marked, so as you can see I put like marking is 1 and 6, cylinder 1 and 6, cylinder 3 and 4, and cylinder 2 and 5. And coil number, this is number 1, this is number 2, as you can see, and this is number 3. So these are our coils. These were completely shorted, so there was definitely a problem with misfiring in this car. So that's our coils. So let's move on. I know it's kind of like difficult to make a video with only one hand, but I'll try. So we're moving on to our injectors, and then we're gonna move on to the last segment on the side. Come on now. I know it's a long video, I just want to document it before I mail it out. Okay, so injectors. Obviously we have 6 injectors, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 6 injectors and some other sensors. Also injectors are marked. See, this is number 1. And so they go number 2, number 3. You see number 3, number 4, number 5. See, this is the tricky one because number 6 loops around, so number 6 goes backwards. They can be swapped out accidentally, so that's how it's supposed to be. Therefore they're marked. This is number 5 and this is number 6. So we're good there. 6 injectors, obviously they go to the main connector. A positive main power. For these injectors, they go to this connection right here. This big thick green cable feeds power to coils and positive to injectors. Therefore it's a heavy gauge. So as you can see, this green one is very heavy gauge. Actually, to show you, it's like seriously thick cable right there. You can see the thickness of it. This can supply serious amount of amps. Now this is our air flap switchover valve. This one switches on the air turbulence flap inside the intake manifold. Going along. As I said before, this is our oil level sensor, and the rest of the wires at the end here we have. This is our camshaft advance solenoid. Then we have air pump switchover valve and EGR valve. Now what's funny with the air switchover valve is that the ground for it is this cable right here. As you can see, this one. That's the ground for air switchover valve. The grounds from EGR valve and camshaft advance and switchover valve, they're on separate ground. Switchover valve. And they're on this ground right here. I don't know why it's made like that. It's kind of bizarre. They could have dropped this ground also on that one, but that's just the way the schematic goes. So that's exactly factory. So it's just this interesting fact that it would have been probably easier just to tie the ground straight into the rest of the ground. Same ground on here or there on the cable. This bolts right on the body of the car, so it's 100% ground, same as this one. So, well, anyway, that's the Mercedes stuff. Now we have the last segment here, which is the last segment of the harness. Here we have our intake air temperature sensor. Okay, so this one also soldered directly to pins, as you can see inside. Okay, and then the wires run, and even original grommets are preserved. Those are small connections, those are difficult to do without breaking them. And we have our, as before I said, mass airflow sensor. This is hot film, not hot air, so you only have 4 connections there. What else we have? This is our NOx sensor number 1. Then we have NOx sensor number 2. Okay, these are also difficult a little bit, and these are also shielded coaxial cables, so those are done the same way as I did on cam and crank sensor, with military shrink tube with glue, so it seals it from elements, and then it's all wrapped around. So that's good stuff. Then we come down to the last wiring here in the harness. This is our what is this one? Oh yes, this is the coolant temperature sensor for the gauge on your instrument cluster, so you know the temperature. This one also follows up in this connector, auxiliary connector, because this goes into the instrument cluster, so you know your coolant temperature. And this is camshaft position sensor. This goes to the main connector. Same thing over here. You have to do lobotomy on this. You gotta cut it open to solder to it. Some people would say you could get these connectors, right? I mean, these are available for sale at the dealer, but the problem is you see they're different. These I can open, they just snap closed, but they're different. They don't have, as you can see, they don't have the ring around them as this one does, so it doesn't slip off. See, there's different style, even though they could be used, but I don't want to use that. I just use the original. Now you can buy an original, but the wires that's inside that coaxial cable, they also break apart, and then you have the main center cable shorting out to the ground. So therefore you buy a replacement piece of wire, and then you back to square one when wire disintegrates. So obviously not a solution. So the solution is to use military grade like I use, that they don't even burn. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I can, but probably not. Well, maybe. Just try. This is like one of the cables here. Let's just take the big one here. So this is the cable, and here's the matches. So just want to show you the cables, how well these are. And just gonna spark it up. So here's our fire, here's the cable. So I'm putting it directly in the flame. As you can see, it gets black. Okay, and now we'll look under. Here is all that it did. Absolutely nothing. So this is the wires that I use. They withstand direct fire. These are supposedly a composite material. It's not just copper. This is, I believe it's silver plated copper or something like that. But you see, it withstands direct fire. So obviously that's the stuff you want. That's the new stuff, and that's what I rewired this harness with. Same for coaxials. They're also military grade, so they're not going to fail. Okay, so this is basically going to wrap this video up. The harness is done, and it's checked, and it's ready to be mailed out. So you see the condition, you see the process, and you see finished product. Alright, so this is all. This is Victor at RestoreYourMercedes.com. Thank you for watching.